Hello everyone, Relays back again here with a layout update video. Now before I get started, I must apologize for being down YouTube for a few months. And I have perfectly good reasons to be down YouTube, you know, life. Anyway, as you can see, the layout looks a little different since the last update. Although it is a little different, a lot has been done. Anyway, as you can mostly see from this angle, the top level is done as far as track work goes, and also we have trains running on it right now. You can see a mountain taking shape in the back corner, and also the reverse dog bone loop is taking shape, although I have yet to wire it up yet. And as you can see, some things aren't perfect. The train just derailed, but anyway, moving on. Anyway, as I was saying, the dog bone loop is now done, track-wise. Now, anyone who's worked with HO for a while knows that you cannot reverse an HO loop back onto itself because it will immediately short out. So, I need to wire up a double pull, double throw switch and do some insulating. This part of the layout. That'll get done before any of the scenery is done. Also, the mascot of the layout has trapped himself inside the mountain. Now as the train runs by here, a brief explanation of what's planned to be here is in the center of this loop. I plan there to be a small mining/logging town and maybe a factory or two. Along the edges of the table, there will be small businesses, and the gap between the lower level and the top level will be filled in with scenery and retaining walls. Now, another thing taking shape on the layout, besides the cat trapped inside the mountain, is the mountain itself. This is going to be the mountain's overall size and shape, minus the bit of spare chicken wire I have resting on top. Along the bottom of the chicken wire here, I'll sculpt foam so it looks like they blasted the side of the mountain out to make way for the railway line. Where the chicken wire leaves off, foam will continue with the tunnel portals, which I am sculpting out of balsa foam, or its cheaper alternative, florist foam. And on the other side here, same thing will happen. It will go from chicken wire to foam with tunnel portals. Where the switch is over there, where the train's passing, there will be a small switch tower with retaining walls along the bottom level of track here. On the opposite side of the layout, the track work for this reverse loop is complete. It is temporarily being held in place with some balsa wood and a wood block. I have yet to do the wiring on this side too, though it is on my to-do list. Eventually, where the wood block is, there will be a wooden trestle spanning from roughly where the newspaper is to roughly about where the balsa wood archway is here. Another thing that will happen in this area is this is where the main logging industry will be once the scenery gets started. Now, one thing I'll like to go over is some of the new additions to the layout as far as rolling stock and locomotives go. The first one you've already seen, and it is this beautiful locomotive. Now, I don't know what it's called, but a very good friend of mine gave this to me as a gift. And it is absolutely beautiful. It's made by Mantuna. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I'm really sorry for the bad lighting. I don't really have good lighting in this room yet. But it is absolutely exquisite when it comes to detail. And I haven't had a problem with this thing derailing yet. Now, the cars I've had, so we're not going to talk about them. Now, the next locomotive I'm going to talk about is one I actually picked up in a junk box, and may I say it's a very smooth runner. Now, the reason why this guy was in a junk box is this is a Bachmann diesel. It's a Bachmann diesel. The problem with this locomotive is that it's really hard to see in the light. But this is the powered truck, and it's supposed to have two of them. But the problem is, supposedly this locomotive fell off a shelf, and it damaged the running truck. So the guy had it in a junk box, and I think I paid $10 for this. And although I couldn't find a replacement truck, I was able to find a very similar style truck that wasn't powered, and all I did was glue it to the bottom. And this train runs really nicely. It's a nice slow runner, and it's also a DCC locomotive, so if I ever get DCC, I'm pretty much set. Now, the next locomotive I'm going to talk about is actually broken, and I hope to fix it soon. And this isn't going to run layout, but I got it because I thought it was a neat looking locomotive. It's this Missouri Pacific locomotive. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of you can tell me exactly what this locomotive is. I, however, cannot, but all I know is that it looks good and it's broken. So maybe in a future video, we'll crack this open and see what's wrong with it. Now, the next piece we're going to talk about is a piece of rolling stock. It's a little out of scale. I got it off eBay a few weeks ago, but I think it looks pretty good. And for those of you who don't know, this is a rocket. Not a little rocket, but the steam locomotive rocket. And a little bit of history. This was at one point the fastest locomotive in the world. It was one of its first of its kind. Now, this locomotive is scratch built. It is not a previously running model made by Bachmann. And whoever built it did a very nice job and put on this nice little flat car. Now, the next locomotive in its cars is a little bit of a jumpy runner, but let's see if I can get it in here without derailing. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is a Bachmann set. I don't know the name, someone's probably going to yell at me in the comments for this. But anyways, this is a very nice running set. It is an original. Unfortunately, when I got it like 4 years ago, it didn't work. Only recently did I manage to actually get this to run properly. Although, as you can see, it's not perfect just yet. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is not actually a piece of rolling stock or locomotive at all. It's a tool that I'm going to use once I start doing scenic work. Now, to most of you, this looks like a plastic box. And it is somewhat, but this is a very special plastic box. It's a 3D printed plastic box. And this will help me ballast. Now, I found one of these on Thingiverse, and unfortunately the file wouldn't download correctly, so I designed my own on Tinkercad, which is a free 3D design software. So you have 3 holes for the center and 2 sides, and 2 slits in the bottom, so it rests very nicely on the track. It just slides along like so. You put ballast in the top. And I test this, and this works very nicely. I'll definitely do a video of this in the future.